to stay with teenagers. This time, though, it concerns your daughters and the HPV vaccine used to stop cervical cancer. Ireland has a problem, and medical experts are saying they are seriously concerned at the low uptake of the vaccine here. It has to do with a number of issues, and we will be hearing also in the next 10 minutes, from the parent of a young lady who took it. And this parent believes that as a consequence of taking it, they suffered severe debilitating side effects. The medical experts, as you'll be hearing shortly, believe that no, these side effects are just part of adolescence that would occur separate. In other words, there is no proven causal link between the vaccine and these events. To put forward that side, first of all, we're going to listen to Dr. Robert O'Connor, who's head of research at Irish Cancer Society. And I've been speaking to him, and I asked him first why he's worried about this low uptake.
Well, we're concerned because this vaccine is a proven safe vaccine. HPV is a significant cause of a number of cancers, but in particular cervical cancer. The vaccine protects against cervical cancer. It's a life-saving vaccine, and we want women to have the best opportunity to avoid cancer as possible. So 2 simple jabs in the arm greatly reduces the risk of this and some other cancers. So we just want people to be free of cancer.
All right. Now, can I put it to you some of the fear that people have? This group, which is called REGRET, that's reactions and effects of Gardasil resulting in extreme trauma. They are claiming that, and they featured in that TV3 documentary, that as a result of having received the vaccine, they allege that their daughters have become very, very ill with long-term illness.
Okay. So I think people need to look at some of the other documentaries that have more thoroughly examined the case around the group and around the claims they make, the major inaccuracies in all of the claims that they have made, firstly. So I would advise people to actually get facts around that. I go back to what I said at the outset, that all of the groups around the world that look after the safety of our medicines have investigated and continue to investigate this medicine. They found that it's safe. It's 2 very simple injections. And it prevents a very common form of cancer. Your listeners may not be aware, the HPV virus, most people will be exposed to it, and many will develop an infection that they will never know in their bodies about it. The impact of that will be 1 in 10 Irish women currently have to be treated at some stage over their lifetime to remove these precancerous growths picked up by the fantastic cervical screening process that we have in this country. So 1 in 10 Irish women will develop something associated with this virus. 1 in 100 currently develop cancer, cervical cancer, and 1 in 250 die from it. So this simple injection in the arm that is proven safe prevents against these conditions, and hence why we feel so strongly that the community need to make sure that women, and indeed men and boys, are vaccinated in this at an age prior to exposure to the HPV virus.
You said inaccuracies in that documentary that was aired. What's the general inaccuracy or thing that you don't feel is properly researched?
I think people need to look through the documentary that was on RTE. The facts around the safety of the vaccine are very thoroughly established. The facts that these conditions that these parents speak about, which are dreadful for these girls, and anybody, you'd have a heart of stone not to see a teenager being ill and be moved by it. But these conditions have been happening to human beings of all ages since the dawn of humanity. They've been described in the medical literature for well over 100 years, into 200 years.
And in your view, no causal link between them and the vaccine?
It's not my view. It's the view of the research and the medical community, including the World Health Organization, the Centres for Disease Control, the European Medicines Agency, the Health Products Regulatory Agency, and each of the 100 different agencies that have independently reviewed and continue to review this vaccine since it first came out in 2006.
That was Dr. Robert O'Connor, the head of research at the Irish Cancer Society, and his warning about the low uptake of the vaccine. Let's now go to Karen Smyth of REGRET. This is a support group set up by concerned parents as their daughters, they would claim, have had adverse reactions to the vaccine. Karen, good morning to you.
Good morning, Eamon.
Karen, do you mind first of all just telling me about your own daughter and your story in relation to what happened to her?
Yeah, well, like every other parent, I felt it's very important that my daughter received this vaccine. She had all her other vaccines, and this was just another, at the time, it was a very new one. So I was delighted to give my consent. On the very first day she had the vaccination, I was called to the school to bring her home. She was very dizzy, sick, headachy, weak, barely able to stand. Brought her home. She went to bed. That was fine. She probably didn't feel 100% the next day, but I sent her to school and she wanted to go. So, come the second vaccination, that was the one that she was really affected by, and that's when the trouble all started. Again, at the time, we were told it was all fine, and unfortunately, I let her go back and have the third. Now, they have since changed the schedule from 3 vaccinations to 2. Her problems, it's very confusing for parents because of the age these girls are at. They're teenagers, there's a lot of changes going on in their lives. When the abdominal pain started and the headache, the dizziness, fainting, I thought it was due to her age. Took her to the doctor. He kind of agreed also. So we struggled on for another while. And she constantly kept getting infections, and it transpired that her immune system has completely crashed. And that was in 2010. This is now 2017. My daughter has missed her secondary school education. She's been too unwell to attend school, and her friends have all gone to college. We live in a rural area, so they're gone away altogether. So it's very lonely existence. She's in constant pain, day in, day out. She really doesn't have a life like a normal teenager, and has not for 7 years now. Her future is pretty bleak looking, to be honest, and as a family, she's massively impacted on her siblings, on ourselves, on her cousins. There's no get-togethers, family barbecues, things like that. It's all gone. You can't, the child cannot go anywhere alone because it's the danger of her passing out. She's cognitive function difficulties.
That's cognitive, her thought, how she thinks and perceives things. Yeah.
She's short-term memory loss, confusion, and she's menstrual difficulties. These are not, so we've been shoehorned into a chronic fatigue.
Diagnosis, chronic fatigue syndrome, yeah.
These children don't have chronic fatigue syndrome. There is no acute recurring pancreatitis with chronic fatigue syndrome. There is, though, ovarian failure. That's early menopause, chronic fatigue syndrome. So we really need an independent investigation into what happened to our daughters. And by doing so, hopefully we will find treatment, and also it may identify those who would be predisposed to having an adverse reaction to the vaccine, therefore making it safer, increasing the uptake rate, which is what the HSE wants. But you can't expect the public to have confidence when there's over 400 children chronically ill since receiving that vaccine, and nobody's doing a thing about it. Now,
what's been the reaction of people you've gone to about it? HSE, government, whoever?
7 years down the road, and most of us are, we have been around the block of consultants, hospitals, doctors. It's not about money. No parent would say that. But eventually, it does become a problem because you're handing hundreds to these consultants who scratch their heads and say, well, I wouldn't rule out the vaccine, but I don't know. And the thing about this causation thing, they just haven't found the link yet, is what I'd say to that. And if you look back historically, for a typical example, in more recent times, the pandemics and the swine flu, that was the swine flu vaccine, and the kids and adults that got narcolepsy, they were told also, no, it's not the vaccine. Well, that has changed now. And if you go further back, thalidomide, how long did people have to wait before they found the causation? So some of these children, within minutes of getting the vaccine, went down in seizures, on the floor, in the school hall, and they're still having seizures years later, daily seizures. So, an investigation is warranted here. This is a very substantial number of children we're talking about.
And I note as well that, Karen, you're a very reasonable attitude in the sense of you're not saying wipe out the vaccine totally, but what you are saying is that you have to properly investigate. Are there instances where there may be certain teenagers with a predisposition who this vaccine will trigger that condition, whatever it may be, and we have to look at that?
Absolutely. And, doctors do say that there is a strong possibility, not all doctors obviously, but there is a very strong possibility that the vaccine has triggered this. And in actual fact, some doctors say it has triggered it. So, they do have to be investigated. It's been said before, if there were 400 cattle and they were given an injection and they all came down with the very same symptoms in a same time frame, there'd be a serious investigation.
Yeah.
So why not our children? They could be anybody's children tomorrow. Nobody knows.
All right, Karen, listen, thank you for coming on. That just sounds so utterly difficult. As you said, your daughter's life, your friends, your own lives, everybody's. I hope you get some movement on it.
Can I just say one thing before I go? That the patient information leaflet, we've called over and over again for the HSE to give parents the manufacturer's own patient information leaflet with all the risks and benefits on it. And all parents need to go online and read that, because the HSE do not send that home from the schools in the information pack. They list 5 minor side effects, but on that documentation from the manufacturer, there are 25 side effects, and our children are suffering from all of those side effects now.
All right. Listen, Karen, thank you for joining us on the program. That's Karen Smyth. And again,